Shana Tova Umetuka, a good and sweet new year to you and your family. My name is Michael Fell, and I am the Senior Rabbi of Temple Emanu-El. And welcome to A Taste of the High Holy Days, highlights from the Yom Kippur morning service. I know that connecting to the liturgy in this way can be challenging, and so I offer you 5 suggestions to make this experience more accessible and meaningful. Number 1, if you can, I encourage you to take out a machzor. I'll be calling the pages from Machzor Lev Shalem. Number 2, so you can focus more intently on what's happening in the screen, I invite you to push aside your cell phone or close your computer so you can fully focus on what's taking place in the screen in front of you. At the same time, my 3rd suggestion, it's okay to take a break from looking at the screen. You might want to close your eyes and just listen to the sounds of the prayer and immerse yourself in that experience. Number 4, I encourage you to sing out loud. If you happen to know a particular prayer or a particular melody, fill the space around you with music, fill the space with the sounds of prayer. And number 5, if you're ever not sure what to do, I invite you to take a deep breath and reflect on this moment. Reflect also on who you were in the year that passed and who you would like to be in the year to come. We begin this morning with the recitation of the first 3 blessings which are part of the Amidah. The first blessing recognizes the relationship between God and the Jewish people throughout history. The second blessing recognizes God's kindness, not only to those of us who still walk this earth, but also to those in the world to come. And the third blessing recognizes the unique status of Yom Kippur and the sanctity of this day. We follow along on page 313.
Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Eloheinu v'Elohei
Avoteinu
Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Agadol Gipur Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol V'zoger avot Umevid Gael Livnei v'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Zochreinu lechaim Melech hafetz b'chaim V'chotvenu b'sefer ha'chaim L'mancha Elohim chaim Melech hozer ufoked Umoshia umagen Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah
Amen
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה, ומי דומה, ומי דומה לך. מלך ממיתו חיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצורה לחיים ברחמים. ונאמנתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא וברוך שמו,
מחיי המתים.
Amen.
The third blessing of the Amidah is based on the idea of Kedusha, holiness. One way to think about Kedusha is to think about something that is distinct or set apart. Shabbat is holy because it's different from the rest of the days of the week. A partner in a relationship is holy because they are set apart from the rest of humanity. And God is holy because God is unlike anything else in the world. During this blessing, we will also recite the classic High Holy Day texts of the Untana Tokef, Uvshofar Gadol, and Berosh Hashanah. These texts push us to consider the sanctity and weight of this day. They remind us that we are responsible for our actions and that those actions have consequences. I'd like to share with you an interpretation of these prayers written by Andrea Tillis. May her memory be for a blessing. She battled cancer for 8 years before passing away in 2006. She writes, "On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. Who will pass through this life and who will appreciate creation? Who shall live their life fully and who will die a little bit each day? Who shall use their full potential and who will waste it? Who shall be consumed by the fire of anger and envy, and who will drown in their own sorrows? Who will feel cut in pieces by the wild actions of people around them, and who will not be able to control the wild beast inside? Who will always be hungry because they envy what others have, and who will always be thirsty for more because they do not appreciate what they have? Who will be consumed by earth-shattering events, and who will allow the little things to eat away at them like a plague? Who will feel strangled by their emotions, and who will have a heart of stone? Who will appreciate their chance to rest, appreciating the world around them, and who will always be wandering, chasing the elusive rainbow? Who shall feel serene, and who will feel disturbed? Who will feel at ease with their challenges in life, and who will feel afflicted by them? Who shall always feel impoverished despite all that they have, and who will feel enriched despite all that they are missing? Who shall feel humbled, and who shall feel exalted? But with change, teshuvah, prayer for wisdom, strength, and courage, tefillah, and acts of justice, tzedakah, the decree can be changed."
ובשופר גדול ייתקע וכל דממה דקה וכל דממה דקה ומלאכים יחפזון וחיל ורעדה יוחזון יום ויאמרו הנה יום הדין לבכור הצבא מרום בדין לבכור הצבא מרום בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין וכל באי עולם יעברו לפניך כי הנה מרום תחת שבטו תחת שבטו ותחתוך קצבה לכו בריאה ותחתוך קצבה לכו בריאה השנה יכתבון ויום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון עמה יעברון וכמה יבראו וקיצור ומילו וקיצור בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון ומים ומי ואש מי וחרב ומי וחיה מי ורב ומי וצמא מי ורש ומי במגפה בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון מי וחנוכה ומי וסקילה מי ישקיט ומי יטורף מי ישלב ומי יתייסר בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יחתמון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יכתבון, בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יכתבון.
On Yom Kippur, we have the opportunity to remember our loved ones. And so now we'll begin the Yizkor service. What is the goal in remembering our loved ones on this sacred day? Why do we take the time to remind ourselves of the loss, the sadness, the emptiness we feel with the passing of our loved ones? It isn't only to make sure that the next generation remembers who came before us. And it isn't only because by remembering them, we ourselves are comforted. A central reason to remember those who came before is because through the sacred act of remembrance, it allows them to continue to be an influence in our lives and in the world around us. In just a few moments, we will say, in loving testimony to their lives, I pledge tzedakah, to help perpetuate ideals that were important to them. Through such deeds and through prayer and through remembrance, may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Our memory of them should move us from a place of inaction to a place of action. In doing so, they continue to teach us, they continue to shape us, they continue to mold us in their values and in their ideals. May the memory of our loved ones inspire us to do good and to be good in the new year. I'll invite you to say the name of a loved one when Cantor pauses. We rise and recite our Yizkor prayers on page 291.
Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. Av besari, Yizkor lavetach. Av besari, Yizkor lavetach. Amen.
May God remember the soul of who has gone to their eternal home. In loving testimony to their lives, I pledge tzedakah to help perpetuate ideals important to them. Through such deeds and through prayer and remembrance, may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. May I prove myself worthy of the many gifts with which they blessed me. May these moments of meditation strengthen the ties that linked me to their memory. May they rest in peace forever in God's presence. And let us all say, Amen. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbi, be'alama divara kirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbi mivorach le'alam ulamei alamaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh, ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu. La'ela, la'ela, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alama ve'imru amen. Yahei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. In just a moment, we will recite Shema Kolenu, where we ask that God hear our prayers and listen to our pleas on this sacred day. After making that request, we'll then remind God of who we are. We will say, Ki anu amecha, that we are your people and you are our God. We are your children and you are our parent. These different metaphors describe the relationship between God and the Jewish people, our closeness at this time, and our closeness throughout history. We follow along on page 346.
Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, 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 Kolenu. Shema, Kolenu. Adonai. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, 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 Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, 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 Kolenu.
In just a moment, we'll continue with the vidui section of our service, the confessional with the key prayers of Ashamnu and Al-Chet. Each of these prayers contains a list of transgressions. It's customary that when we recite these prayers, we take our hand and place it in a fist upon our heart and strike our heart with each recitation of a transgression. Often we think of this act as a form of contrition, but there's another way that we can think of this movement. We can think of it, instead of an act of striking our chest, instead as an act of knocking on the door of our heart, an act of trying to open our hearts up to the pain and suffering of others, to open our hearts up to the pain that we might have caused in the past year, and to sensitize ourselves to the ways in which we can be better people in the year to come. Whichever way you think of this act of striking our heart, I invite you to turn to page 235 and join us in the Ashamnu.
Barnu dofi, והרשנו,
זדנו,
זדנו,
חמסנו,
חמסנו,
טפלנו שקר,
טפלנו שקר.
יאי שררנו,
שררנו,
אבינו,
אבינו,
פשענו,
פשענו,
צררנו,
צררנו,
כיסינו עורף,
כיסינו עורף.
רשענו,
רשענו,
שיחתנו,
שיחתנו,
תיעבנו,
תיעבנו,
טעינו,
טעינו,
תיתנו,
תיתנו.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך by throwing off all restraint,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך by rashly judging others.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך by plotting against others,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through selfishness.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך through superficiality,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through stubbornness.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך by rushing to do evil,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through gossip.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך through empty promises,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through baseless hatred.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך by betraying trust,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך by succumbing to confusion.
ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, קבל לנו. ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו.
I hope you enjoyed this morning's program. I hope you felt like you were sitting right here in the sanctuary with us. I'd like to thank Cantor Mayer and Rabbi Rachel Zerin, as well as David, Raphael, Daniel, and Jonah Herzberg-Mayer for lending their voices to make this morning service so beautiful. Traditionally, we don't conclude the morning services on Yom Kippur. Instead, we pause here until we can recite the Mincha prayers a little bit later in the afternoon. Between now and then, I encourage you to continue reflecting on the mistakes you made in the year that passed and who you would like to be in the year 5781. Feel free to go for a walk, feel free to take a nap as well, so you can continue the sacred work on this special day. We'll conclude now with the recitation of Kaddish Shalem, which you can find on page 359.
Bim bam ba, bim bam ba, bim bam
יתקדם ויתקדש שמך ועלמא יבקרותי ויאמרת מלכותי וחייך יומך וחייך בית ישראל והגלה ובזמן קריב
ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתרומם ויתהדר
ויתהלל
ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
שמי דקודשה
בריחו
לאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ורחמתה מירן בעלמה תושבחתה ונחמתה מירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן תתקבל צלון ובעולם לכל ישראל קודם נרי ולמעלה ואמרו אמן יש למה רבם ג'מעיה ורעים עלינו עלינו ולעמו ישראל ואמרו אמן
אמן אמן ממרומיו יעשה שלום
עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל
ישראל ואם